It's hard to overstate the importance of the property market to the British. When they're not talking about it, they're reading about it. For millions of Britons, investing in property is the foundation of their financial future. It's also crucial to the well-being of the country's economy.
We see the sharp fall in house prices as representing a significant threat to the core of the UK economy, that is, personal consumption expenditure. We now believe that it's more likely than not that we'll see a recession in 2009.
Over the past decade, average house prices tripled. Lenders were so sure this trend would continue that some were providing loans to homeowners that exceeded the value of their property. They didn't see the credit crunch coming from across the Atlantic.
We had an issue with the US subprime market where some of the poorest people were taking on these mortgages and actually couldn't afford to pay them once interest rates went up. Because the banks are now global banks, they're not just restricted to the US. It meant UK banks were affected as well because they had investments in this market and had bought on these mortgages and were finding people were defaulting. So this in turn meant they had less money to lend over here. The cost of borrowing here went up as lenders got more cagey about lending to each other, and this has been passed on to the consumer.
Some homeowners are seeing their mortgage payments rising by hundreds of dollars a month, and they can't keep up. Repossessions are up by nearly 50% compared to last year.
What we've noticed since the start of this year is a very substantial increase in people that have fallen behind with their mortgages or are facing repossession. And what I'm worried about is if the economic outlook worsens, particularly if unemployment rises, we'll see even greater increases.
Over the past year, average house prices have fallen $30,000. Despite that drop of around 7%, first-time buyers struggling to get on the property ladder are often no better off because the credit crunch has meant nervous banks are demanding a bigger deposit than before. And with first-time buyers often unable to get a mortgage, the housing market has become stagnant, as Britain's leading house builders have found out. Their shares have plummeted since their peak early last year, and they've been forced to shed thousands of jobs. There's little question now that the threat of at least a technical recession does hang over Britain. And investors who remember just how bad things got in the 1990s will be hoping that this time the downturn won't be as severe. But many analysts are predicting that the coming years could be even tougher. Matthew Moore, Al Jazeera, London.